welcome everyone for this really delightful. I'm so grateful for this gathering and to be welcoming my friend Karen Wakonda, and I'll do that in a moment. And I'll mention that we are recording this session and that the recording will be shared with everyone who is registered and also with other teachers and professionals in the MBSR and eco-awareness community. And I'll say a bit more about that later when we start our Q&A with Karen. But welcome so warmly to everyone. And to Trish, the co-director with me of the project. Trish is here in the background and taking care of tech issues for us. Thank you, Trish.
Nice to see everyone today. Thank
Welcome,
you
welcome.
especially to Karen for being here with us.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Trish, if you could spotlight me for a moment and I'll say just a little bit more. And yeah, so we're delighted to offer this opportunity. And what I'd like to do is to make a land acknowledgement now. And it's the first time we're doing it on the speaker series. And after speaking with Karen yesterday, I'm committed to doing this every time. So I'll say that. And so here it is. And if you could just, find a way to connect in with the place that you are in right now, through your heart, through your eyes, through the felt sense of your body resting in gravity on this good earth. And so this land acknowledgement is for all of us. We have this on our project website, so you can refer back to it if you wish. So as we pursue our work in the MBSR and Eco Awareness Project, we honor the lands on which we work and those Native and Indigenous peoples who have stewarded this land, these waters, and this air through the millennia and right up to this day with steadiness, joy, and brilliance. We recognize the harms caused by ignorance, arrogance, greed, abuse, and violence toward these peoples and their lands. And through the work of the MBSR and Eco Awareness Project, we commit to repairing these harms and returning to a sane, respectful, and joyful relationship with this, our Earth home. So one of the important reasons that we have this land acknowledgement has been my relationship with Karen Wakonda. And Trish, if you could spotlight so that Karen and I can be together, because I'm going to say some things about Karen and I want to be able to see her as I do that. So Karen, my friend, thank you so much for agreeing to speak with the community here. And I'm going to read a little bit from the bio that you provided us. You are a tribal native of the Isleta and Laguna Pueblos, and you're initiated in native medicine and you offer traditional healing practices. And you do that on a generosity basis, reciprocity basis, maybe we could say. You're a Spirit Rock community Dharma leader, and you regularly provide Dharma teachings, incorporating Native teachings in your community and nationally. And we welcome you so warmly and thank you for being here. And I will leave the spotlight and leave it to you now.
Mm, Thank you, Margaret. I really appreciate this opportunity and also speaking to you all. And thank you, Trish. Um, I tell you guys, these two have the amazing technological experience. Like it is so easy, and it's a pleasure to be able to speak with such a group that where things run so easily. Um, let me I'm going to be talking about a little bit about cultural appropriation, reciprocity, and permission. I have worked, um, well, let me do the slides, and that way we can have some idea what we're talking about. And I'm going to be sharing my screen. Where are we? Oh, here we go. Share. Slideshow from beginning. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was raised on Isleta Pueblo, and we're a farming community south of Albuquerque, New Mexico. However, my parents are also from Laguna Pueblo, west of Albuquerque. So I've had the cultural, traditional experience from the Laguna side, and then also um, taking part with religious activities at Isleta side. We don't speak the same languages. So right now I'm trying to teach my grandchildren all kinds of languages, including Isleta, Laguna, Spanish, and English. I was initiated in 1997. That was a time when I was really into the University of New Mexico, and I still am faculty of the School of Medicine, but back then I was the director of Office of Rural Health. And I was looking at putting up clinics in Western institutions across the state of New Mexico. And we end up getting together across the nation to look at the definition of what does frontier communities mean. Because at that time, communities further than 100 miles away were not recognized in federal funding. And I was used to that because tribal communities weren't looked at in some areas in federal funding. So we were able to come up with a definition of frontier communities within the Office of Rural Health across the nation. I saw that there was a lack of access. So I have a lot of medical Western. My mother was a CEO of a hospital well, it's not hospital, healthcare, but include 6 hospitals across several states. My late husband, the director of a community of medical health services within this hospital system, and then my late uncle, the director of the National Indian Health Service under the Clinton and also Bush administration. With that in mind, I was initiated and I refused because I knew that it was a lifetime commitment. And in order to heal, it's not where you can step forward and say, yes, I'm going to be initiated. No, somebody it has to recognize you, and then you then become initiated. So I ignored the lady and I said no. I said no to her. I didn't know that you could do that or you shouldn't do that. Um, and then a year later, my dad asked for healing and then he asked for this person. And she said, oh, she agreed to come to our house. And she sat us in a circle with my siblings, and she would then go to each sibling and intuitively know the cause of illness that may be imparted on my father. Well, she put me in the middle, and I was thinking, what did I do so wrong? And was it in my thinking? Was it in my actions? What happened to cause this illness? And I was so scared. And as I was already asking for forgiveness before it came to me, but then in the Laguna language, she had asked permission from my parents that I carry on the medicine. And they gave it to her. It's like, oh my gosh, I was just upset, mixed, and I didn't know what to do. But because my parents granted the permission, then my whole life changed within 4 days. So I had to exclude myself from all society, do my ceremony for myself, and with my medicine mother, changed my name, and then recognized me to the spirits and directions and all the elements of who I am and what my obligations will be. I was given, it's just like when you take the oath of medicine, you're given responsibilities. Well, my oath was responsibilities for the rest of my life, 24 hours, 7 days a week. And that's why I didn't want to take on the medicine, because it's 24 hours, 7 days, and you're on call all the time. And not on call only with human beings, as we think in our human mind, but we're on call for all beings. And that meant all beings, including the galaxies and spiritual law, natural law, human law. Although I had my medicine mother who would teach me, but it's like, well, who's going to teach me? I mean, what am I going to do? I refused for a whole year, and until I sat down with the and meditated with the crystals, and the crystals spoke to me, and that's my medicine that I carry is crystal medicine and flower essence, and mostly plant medicine is my way of healing, along with my hands. My hands were blessed, so then therefore I have to utilize my hands in the way I heal. But the message from Spirit was that they would be guiding me, and opportunities will come if I allow them to just present without the humanist restrictions. And so for 7 years, I was led by opportunities by many, many cultures, including Korean, the Sikh, German. The School of Medicine stepped up. Various tribes, Lakota, Dene, and Pueblo. And so I was trained for 7 years and practiced with all various types of medicine, and how to use it, and how to use it in reciprocity with Mother Earth. And this is what I like to be talking to you about. Today we're going to be talking about land acknowledgement, and I'm glad Margaret discussed that and stated the land acknowledgement and why it's important, and then leading into permission. We're going to go into right relationships and reciprocity, cultural appropriation, appreciation. And then at the end, we'll have opportunity for questions and answers and discussion as well. So as you know, and I introduce myself as a medicine keeper, I hold the medicine, I talk with the medicine, I reflect with the medicine. And part of the oath is that I must get up early to meet the morning sun. Well, I don't have an alarm to use, and I don't really use watches, but I often go with the sun and the direction of it. And I remember when my medicine mother said, "Now you need to get up when the sun rises." It's like, I don't think so. And I even told my husband, "Let's get extra thick curtains," and that didn't even work. And every single day of today, I wake up and I always listen to the first thought. What's the first thought? What's the first message that comes to me? And at that moment, when the sun is barely peeking up and you can see the morning star, is the most precious moment of life, when all the elements are at its most, where the birds and the insects, the trees, the plants, the water, the dew, the sun, and everything is coming together and introducing one another. So that's what I must do, and also caring for the elements. So talking to their minerals and grandfathers, we call them grandfathers, and crystals, waking up and saying good morning to the plants and the birds, and making sure that they're fed before I am, including animals, putting out an offering to them before I attend to myself. And I received messages from various people. Can you say a prayer for me? Can you do this for me? And I have to do that in that way. My ancestral lineage is my grandfather, my paternal and maternal are from Laguna Pueblo. It's my only grandfather, Miguel H. Trujillo, is from Isleta Pueblo. And he is the one that fought the rights in state, didn't pass, but then went to federal court for the rights for natives to vote in the Southwest. So you'll often see his information if you look him up. I am the co-creator of the what was written through the best foundation of the Building Tribal Nations and Building Practices. We had array of Buddhist practitioners and tribal people to come together, and we'll provide a link to that. But what it means in depth about cultural appropriation, appreciation, land acknowledgement, and what does it mean about permission based on the Buddhist perspective. And the reason why I came up with that is because I was going into retreats and there is no ethical boundaries. I was hearing people quoting Native American proverbs without giving credit. There was challenges to bring in our medicine into a retreat center. The direction of the bed wasn't correct. So we have to face east or our head at the east side. If it's at the south or facing south, then it's death. So all of these in the rhythm of nature, in the rhythm of the solstice, in the rhythm of the universe, we have to pay attention to. Um, I became advisory to the Burroughs Welcome Fund, and I don't know if you're familiar with them, but you can look them up. But they host a lot of really scientific, conscious level activities. And as one is part of that group, advisory group, but out of that as one advisory group, I have it now responsible for the reciprocity to earthly beings, and right now I'm gathering a group of members around the country and outside too that are scholars and tribal people really interested in what is a consciousness level and beyond that we can relate with the universal beings. I'm appointed faculty with UNM School of Medicine, but most importantly is I'm a mother and a grandmother, and I just love being a grandmother. They correct me of the ages because I'm stuck on 5 and 3, but now they're 8 and 5. And my little 5-year-old grandson is the manager of our family ranch, and he's responsible to take care of the animals and making sure that all the animals, including deer and birds, have food. Let's go into the key components of the land acknowledgement. Land acknowledgement is that's what we do on a daily basis, and that's what I do in where I'm going outside. I'm asking permission to be able to work and thrive on a daily basis on the land and all its beings. We always think that we are superior, but we're not. If you look at the body, and I'll go more in detail, we must have all the elements for survival. We must have air, water, fire, and earth. Fire being our Father, Son. And we are the only beings, human beings are the only beings that do not honor that. How ignorant we become. And we think we're superior than that. But the sun has an obligation every single day to come up and go down, and it has been doing that before this time as humans set planet on Mother Earth, and it has always continuously to do this when Mother Earth wiped out so many generations of people. We're now at this generation to where we know our ancestors, but before that, before Christ, before that, the sun always came up, the moon followed, and the universe of the star nations were there before us. So they are our elders, and we need to ask permission in order to be aware of what it brings to us. Asking, we need to include ourselves and others in the land and being. So when we go out to the ranch, I have my grandchildren go out and offer tobacco or cornmeal. That's our offering, and sometimes water if we have water. and just asking permission to even open the gate and go across to say, we are here. Hello, I am so and so. We are here to take care of the animals, to feed them. We are going to go through this pathway. And on our land, our ancestral uh, livelihood from way back, and I looked it up, and it's way before the Anasazi. So it's like way before the Piru, Peru people, um, of that came from that, or before there were boundaries of Mexico. It was way before that time. The pottery recognizes it, and so do the arrowheads. But I tell you, I've seen images out of my own eye that came from that time. And my father said he heard songs and from a language he didn't understand, but he heard it. And so did his helper. They both heard of them speaking. So it still hears you. All the land still vibrates who the original caretakers are. Um, Out of my lessons that I was given, there are 7, and I've named a few here, of ethical obligations we must follow in asking for the land and permission and our medicine and opening our heart. So Buddhist practice comes in and opening the heart space that helped enhance it for me, but it always lists having compassion, coming together with passion. And I always had throughout my livelihood evaluate passion. What's my passion? The passionate level in me. My grandpa always told me the skill to develop passion is always having a, what do you call it? An art, something you want to work with that will always make mistakes. You can always do, and it will never be the same again. So I do beadwork, I do watercolor, I do journaling, I do cooking, I make salves and lotions. You can always be creative in that, and it brings out your passion. If you don't have that in your linear thinking, then it's hard to open up that heart with something beyond. So when you're expressing compassion, it's coming together in union with passion. It's important in reciprocity, but it's important in acknowledgement. Also, with compassion is honor, respect, truth, humility. There are more than that with truth. We have honesty. And since that day, I cannot lie. Um, I try to, but it doesn't come out. And so since I took that oath, the truth and honesty always speaks first, humility. Um, and that's where I run the medicine practice, is no advertisement. You can't, I don't, that's where Donna comes in. We're not supposed to, how do you evaluate the equivalence and monetarily value of the knowledge, because it's coming from ancestral. So when Donna is given, one has to remember, and I'll cover that with reciprocity, all this knowledge is coming from ancestral lineage and from teachings from my medicine mother, her medicine father. It goes generation, generation, generation. Whereas Western medicine, you're getting it from the book and that's it. In Korean medicine, they said, well, then if you're getting it from the book, honor those books. So I go around and smudge the entire house and honor those books because they're written by somebody's knowledge, and their knowledge came from also an expense of their own time and effort. Um, Now, people ask, how can I ask permission? Where does it come from? Well, I try to explain to them, if you're going to be caring for a dear loved one and they need your assistance. So I always think of my grandma or my grandpa. or my dad or my mom, if they were still here, and caring for them, that you would always ask permission. Is this the way you want it? Is this what the food you want you need? And we've lost that in direct reciprocity with earthly beings and insects and animals. And I look at that with the animals, and I come to tears when I'm at the ranch, and I just, I see a deer. What more can I do for you to make it safe for you? For the cows, I look in their eyes, and they're so wise. You need to be fed. And I talk to them and saying, this has been grown for you with intentions to feed you. I hope you have the best food ever. Allow this to nourish you and your babies that you're carrying, your calves that you're carrying. May they feel it in the body. I have baby chicks right now in my living room, and just talking to them and saying, you're so loved. The eggs that are in you came from your mothers. So I hope that you grow strong and healthy. Let's get you good water. What else do you need? Is the temperature right for you? And just really building that, asking permission to be able to care for them is one step. We're going to go into reciprocity now. And reciprocity is really the establishment of right relations. And I'm going to go in order because when I took on the medicine, we always have to face the East first. And the East is new beginnings. And when we work in the hospital, or particularly in substance abuse population, we always forget, we skip. And because of Christianity, what happened is that we go from our intentions right to the north direction. We forget the south, the west, and I'll explain it. But what it forgets is the natural law. It goes from human law to the spirit law. It forgets, or it just stays in the human law. So always remember there's a human law in the middle. After that, we relate to the natural law, our food, our animals, our water, our air, and then it expands out to the spiritual law. Our spiritual law always goes into the natural law. There's always a rhythm. So the trees, the animals, the insects, they already relate on this spiritual realm. They gain its strength. They know the transition with the spiritual space. Unfortunately, in a Western society, we skip the natural law and it becomes new. Eco-dharma, eco-mindfulness, eco-medicine. That's new. It's not new because in tribal lessons, we are given natural law names. My name is Bakhui. That means a rainbow that goes over the mountain. We are given clans based on the natural law. I'm Sun Clan and Little Turkey Clan. It reminds us that we're always part of this natural law. So I'm going to refer to this based on a cyclic realm. So the east direction is acknowledgement. And that's why I have to go out in the morning. Acknowledge who I am. Acknowledge all beings. Setting right intentions. And knowing that that's the action I will follow. In Western medicine, we forget about what's the right intentions. We follow protocols. And we leave out who the acknowledgement comes from. This is important in mindful practice. This is the first step the Buddha said, is really acknowledge your sitting, acknowledge your breath. It's funny because yesterday I slept in after I woke up and I thought, okay, go back to sleep. You just go back to sleep. And I woke up at 4:30, went back to sleep. And I was in this deep dream. Oh, that's the inhale breath. This is how it feels. Oh, that's the outward breath. That's how it feels. And it's like, God, either I'm in a mindfulness practice all the time, or is this really spiritual teaching? And it could be both. But always acknowledge, I'm going to eat, I'm going to sit, I'm going to stand, I'm going to walk, I'm going to always mark that threshold. Mark your threshold right here. I'm going to start walking. The reason why that's important is because I wrote down, and my mentor was Joseph Goldstein. And when I was discussing with him, we talked about it is so important to be known. Mindful to being known. Mindful to being known. Relate that knowingness to the trees, to the water, to the air, to the ground, to your animals, to your home. I walk in a home every single time. Hi, home. I'm home. Or I leave. We'll see you later. And I touch the walls. I'm going to go do this and I'll be right back. I tell my dog. I tell at the gateway, entranceway, I'll be right back. I'm only going to go for a while. May you be protected. There are lively things right in there. The wood on my table that makes up my table, it came from a tree. The floor is earth floors. The walls are earthen walls. The beams are from the wood. Even the furniture was made by someone. It carries that energy. I have a buckskin on a chair, and last night I turned off the lights and said, be well, I'm going to go rest now. Thank you for coming. So being mindful of this beginning of action is so important in everything. The next one is permission. We talked about permission. Right after you acknowledge, then permission. Can I do? Can I walk? Can I feed you? Can I be with you? It then faces the south direction. You start bringing in your ancestral teachings or your wisdom. Where did you get that from? You start evaluating. You start looking at examples of your relationship. If you're healing, you're starting to look at, okay, what books did it follow? Where did I get that information from? But for me, I'm looking at my grandma, my grandfather, their grandmother, their grandfather. Because I'm made up of the genetic makeup of them, and whatever I do, it resonates in my metabolic pathway. And I'll go more into that later. So, when I work with my grandchildren, is that right? Is this what would our Mother Earth would want you to buy and have? Can it decompose right within so many years? Asking permission and acknowledging the ancestral teachings. We then move into the west direction and really look at our conscious level. And our subconscious really takes an effect here because we're going into habitual patterns. We love to get comfortable, and we don't have enough courage like a bear to know when to act and when to go in. This determines the type of relationship you're going to have with yourself and before relationships with others. This is before you take action. This is before you take speech. At this time, I love to view the delivery, and I always remember wind and air are the only delivery elements of action. They wait for the response of action. And we're the beings to say, okay, where am I at? How am I feeling? Am I grounded? Where is my mood? Where are my emotions? and then going back sometimes to the ancestral teachings. But we always forget this west direction because we lack the courage, or we become so habitual in the patterns of mind, of body, this lack of movement. Now we go into the north direction where right action takes place. We're connecting with another knowingly. We communicate that with another. We do things with another. And this is when we're doing Thanksgiving, we're sharing, we're communing together. Western mind, like I said, can acknowledge and go directly to action. We forget about all these others, and that's where we get stuck on ancestral lineage patterns that haven't been corrected. Chaos, trauma. Old wounds haven't been put to rest. What has happened on this land is the destruction, as Margaret mentioned, of colonized society. Time, bell, computers, everything for that mind frame. You have lost that connection of the subconscious, unconscious mind. And you've lost that connection of ancestral doing. This is so important in healing. Let's go about healing. And this is how I heal. Although I have Western medicine teachings from my colleagues, but through ER and through hospice, all the way through, been trained and been looked at the medicine in that space. Emergency, tertiary, and primary care, looking at all of those elements. But I always go back to the air, fire, water, and earth. These four elements are are what makes us relate to one another and to all beings. You are no larger and more powerful than any other being because we carry all these. You're related to a caterpillar. You're related to a whale. We all share. We all take part. This is why the earth must be taken care of for yourself, for the next generation, and because your ancestors did the best they could. But the original caretakers of this land on the U.S., on this territory, were tribal ancestral relations. Air. Taking a breath. Asking permission. You know that the air is made from the trees, water, and it is on command. It responds to that command from the galaxies, from the fire, the sun, and the earth. It is on command all the time of how and the direction to flow. It transports ideas, words, and also in your blood. Carbon dioxide is transported out, right? Oxygen is in. Little do we know the importance of air. Clean air. Fire. Facing the sun all the time. Just really facing it, opening your body. And a lot of times I just go out naked and just soak in those rays. That is the most healing mechanism. If people can just do that and welcome it for a period of time. Instead, we're covering ourselves. Yes, if you're out there a lot, the UV is dangerous, but if you just face it, you will never ever get lost in any generation because the sun provides direction. Water is directed by air and sun. It's very magical life force. If you've heard him, Emoto can carry messages. It carries codes. I was on a meditation retreat that I led, and I just sat down to this bubbling spring, and it just said, listen to the codes. The codes that resonate in the body and all living structures. Earth element is our own body, and we have all the elements, nutrients that our Mother Earth provides. Cultural appropriation. I get asked a lot about cultural appropriation, and this is why that booklet came out, and Margaret will give you the link to this booklet, but it gives the credit and an understanding of its origins. Somebody was writing an article in Dharma Seed and asked and said, can you look at it? And it was already put out. And I said, wow, where did the four directions come from? Because the Eastern philosophy has 5 elements, or not 4 directions, the elements, 4 elements. And I said, it's the only tribal people only carry 4 elements. Buddhists and Eastern Asians have 6 or 5 elements. It wasn't named. The misuse of ceremony. What does ceremony mean? Talking circle. We no longer use Indians because of reflection of Columbus. And indigenous mead worldwide. But when we want to be called in this nation is tribal people. And if you're in a specific area of the tribe, we want to be named our tribal name. Are we Pueblo? Are you Lakota? Are you Dene? Are you Apache? And for us tribal people, we go beyond that. We go by their native name. Inuit, Tiwa, Towa, Kurisan, Dene. We go by their really significant tribal names. Cultural appropriation also means that you don't have somebody in your board, in your community. You don't have representation that is inclusion of indigenous or tribal people. So if you don't speak of it, don't include, don't put it in your lectures, don't put it in carry it in any way, because you don't have that. Taking of intellectual property or cultural expressions or artifacts without permission. This is widely done. And in fact, it's so much done where I'll see words or slides in my presentation in colleges or academic, and it's like, well, wait a minute, that's in my backyard. Nobody asked permission, and did I get payment for that? It's really, now if somebody did that on a Western way, definitely you would recognize the name, or you would ask, how much can we pay for that? And for us, it's 3 times, if not more, the payment. Because we're talking about our personal self, we're talking about our ancestral knowledge, and then we're talking about representation of the natural law, spiritual law. What is cultural appreciation? Well, it's engaging, it's advocating, it's speaking and saying, can we involve tribal people? Can we involve indigenous people? Let's hear their thought first. Giving credit when it's due, asking permission from the land and the elements first and foremost, exchanging and offering respectfully. In just summary, and I put a metabolic pathway for you guys because in MBSR, we've used it a lot in hospital settings, right? Or in healing situations. But when I'm in hospital situations or with other people in the medical field, I always have them say, okay, let's talk about the 4 elements. We talked about that, all about that. But Why is it so important? If you talk on the water and you ask permission, we're asking it to directly flow in this metabolic cellular pathway. It's changing every second or every 3 months, 6 months, 7 years. It is so sensitive. This is what's happening in every single cell. That's why when a patient comes to me, let's bring your medicine and put it on the altar. It needs to know the direction of your body. We're putting in the altar on Mother Earth. We need to set a direction. The cocktail that is used for chemotherapy, we need to sing to that water, ask permission to go directly into the cancer cells because it will go throughout the whole body and say, let's guide it. Let's work with it. Let's talk to it. Let's sing on it. Let's chant on it. Because this pathway has a mission, but so does that water, fire, air, and earth. It also has a mission. Those trees that you look out outside communicate one another through the root system. It has a mission, it has a knowing. Same thing with your body. Try to relate it in those terms. This is one of our retreats we've had. We have 7 retreats of indigenous, and then we changed it to tribal people. But we brought in the tribal healers to just let go, let your medicine sit for a while and come and be mindful with your body. And then we brought in Western American native healers, Western practitioners, and merged them together. It was a beautiful, insightful retreats that we've had. We've had them in Santa Fe. And in fact, tonight, one of the tribal Dene medicine keepers called me up and said, I'm here in Albuquerque. Can we meet? And so he's attending a workshop. And out of that, we have longevity connections through this. So I'll stop sharing. We can go to question and answers.
Thank you so much, Karen. I'm gonna look around and look for hands. And while I'm doing that, while you're thinking about if you have a question for Karen, I just want to remind everybody that this session is being recorded and it will be shared with teachers and professionals in the MBSR and Eco Awareness community. And if you prefer not to have your voice and image included and shared in that way, please send your question or message in the chat. Okay? So I'll look around for a hand. We'll keep an eye on the chat. So I'm seeing that might be something coming through on the chat. A couple of people look like they're typing, so that's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And
Let's just take a
so
moment just to sit in with the teachings for a while. And I just want you to pay attention to the air element and just welcome it, knowing that it was directed towards you. May I take a breath in? Just it's going in your body. May acknowledge it coming out, portions of it coming out, some of it staying in your body. Through this relationship with the air element, may I know how to speak. May I set the right intentions to speak. That's why before this speaking, I lit a candle, but I burned this cedar to honor the teachings of the ancestors, to honor the space.
Thank you, Karen. And we have another Karen, and I will add the spotlight here. Can you find the way to unmute?
Mute. Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and all the wisdom that you're delivering to us. In my work, I'm focusing mostly on white people because I know that we had an indigenous wisdom centuries back that we lost during the Inquisition and the burning times. And so we've become colonizers all these centuries living without real access to the deep knowing of ancestors. And so I'm always eager to help my people find ways to believe that we have, the same kind of understanding in us and that it needs to be awakened again and sort of brought through the harmful times that happened to it. So, question for you then. Often when I begin a presentation, I say something about gratitude for my people being here on this continent since we have been without an understanding of life being present in every being. And here, this continent has been loved and cherished for thousands of years by people who know that every living element has a spirit. And so, starting out and thanking, yeah, just gratitude that we are here and that we hopefully can learn from this as we are living, being born, living and dying into this land. And I've gotten some criticism that I'm misusing land acknowledgement. And I don't have an organization, so I don't have a way to reciprocate financially. But I just wondered what you thought about that, if that feels like a misuse to you or not.
Look up where you're at, and you need to look up what tribe was there before you and be
Yeah,
very specific. Don't say those that were here before. Be very specific.
okay. I often do
Also,
that
that
too,
when
but
you
yeah,
do say,
okay.
when you bring in, gratitude for those and you honor them first, your ancestors, no, they did cause harm. Let's be honest about it. They
Oh
caused
yeah,
destruction,
yeah,
harm,
yeah,
brutality to the land, to people, to animals, and to all living beings. Just to be honest with that.
hmm
And not sugarcoat it. Don't coat that. Be honest with it.
hmm
Uh, and then also, just because you're in a white Western area, you still have to should practice the permission and reciprocity because we're talking about beings out there.
hmm
The air, fire, water, and earth, those that partake in all of that, those four elements.
hmm
So recognize that as well. I
Okay,
mean,
so
you rely on that for survival.
absolutely.
So acknowledge it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Karen. Yeah.
Karen, we've got just a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to come back and spotlight myself. And Trish, I think I'll just do this now. We just have a couple of minutes left, but you had asked, you and I have been on retreat together and have been in lots of different ways together. And one of those was at the Barry Center for Buddhist Studies, and you and I and another colleague, B. Anderson, were leading that retreat. You had invited so many of your tribal brothers and sisters, and we had people from, more Western and white backgrounds. We had BIPOC from all over the earth, with ancestors from all over the earth in that retreat. It's an amazing retreat. Trish, you were there on that retreat too. And I wanted to tell you one thing. I'm not sure I ever told you that happened with me. And the way that we were together and we were encouraged to practice with all of our relations, our human relations, all the more than human kin and the spirits on that land. And we did that for 5 days together in an easy way, in a heartful way, and sometimes in a really heartbreaking way. All of these things were mixed in. And after 5 days, I left that retreat, and it's like the walls of my dwellings were transparent, and I could feel something I'll call inter-embeddedness and interconnection much more strongly, and that has really stayed with me through that from that time. We gave offerings, we gave food offerings. I mean, just so naturally, like you're not asking us for anything that's really so impossible to do. It's just get your intention together, and that's what happened for me. So offering water now when I go out on to water my garden, and really asking permission of the water and offering the water to the plants that need, like, I'm doing it anyway. How about if I do it as a practice? So I really took that away from that retreat, and I thank you for you and everybody for that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for being here and for everything that you've shared with us.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate it.
Mm. So, Trish, you can let Karen move to the background and have a breath and a rest, and I'll just say a couple more things. There'll be a PDF of the slides that Karen has shared with us today, so she's agreed that we can send that along, and just remembering that she's asked that if you reference it, that you give credit to where you received that from Karen. And I'll include in that email that I'll send that out a link to the Bridging Tribal Nations and Buddhist Practices booklet. Many of your questions, if you have any, will probably be answered by that booklet. And then from the MBSR and Eco Awareness Project, I want to let you know that our next offering is an Earth Day mini retreat. And it's our second annual Earth Day mini retreat. So here, Trish is sharing the screen so that you can see on our website, mbsr-ecoawareness.org. You can find under events a way to sign up for that second annual Earth Day Global Online Retreat. It's free to register for, and we will collect donations, gifts for Freedom Together. And you can read about that organization helping BIPOC mindfulness teachers. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody. Thank you those you are here by recording. So grateful to have your attention. And let's go on and care for our earth in the way that the good way, the way that we can really honor and respect. Thanks all.
Thank you so much.